Yo guys, I'm so pissed. I totally messed up this kitty cat video because my phone like memory filled up or something. I don't even know. I can't even record a real like intro to this video. I'm so mad as I was looking down at the data. Um all the cool parts of me getting this awesome black little kitty cat's face tattooed up, I blew it. So I'm gonna show you what I've got. I'm gonna do a pathetic voiceover. I'm posting this video just because you guys need to see the tattoo finished, but this process, I completely lost the good bits. So, sorry folks, I failed you. But anyway, I'm Clay the Techie Tattooer, and normally I try to make better videos than this. Yeah, so, this is me just protecting my client's sleeve. One of the things I like to do, if you watched my short, is I use shop towels. I do not use the bounty towels, right? I believe there's scratch up, people and all that kind of stuff. But regardless of what paper towel you use, there's always that first paper towel with the glue on it and that last paper towel with the glue on it. I save those aside. I don't wipe people with those, and I use them as bibs, as in this scenario here. So yeah, that's just a little bit of tidbit of I don't know, pro tip. Is that what they call those? I don't know. Yeah, take that first paper towel and that last paper towel and save them for your bibs so that you can protect your client's clothing and all that kind of other stuff. It's sometimes nice to do. Anyway, so I'm starting off with a 7-round liner. And, my standard speed is at 8 volts, but you guys are going to find your own speeds here. So, don't do what I do. Just take what I do as a reference and learn what it is that you should be doing. So, as you can always see, I've got that massive needle hang, probably like 3 millimeters, maybe a little bit more. And like with the other videos, the first few lines are these test lines. You're going to see me wiping a lot and really seeing how much saturation I'm getting and that kind of stuff. No shade to the client at all, but she's a bigger girl. And so what that can mean is, and she does have some stretch marks and stuff like that, especially up towards the inner the ditch area, right, that elbow crease. And so the skin, I was having not a hard time, but I was definitely having to focus on stretching the skin and all that kind of stuff. I love this client. She is amazing. We have great times together, and our talks are like the best. That's why this is a voiceover. You cannot be hearing what we talk about because, client confidentiality stuff. She's great. I love her to death. And so, yeah, this is a no. Yeah, everybody is different and everybody takes their own special care. I do a lot of clients who are, in the 50 plus, even 60 plus range. I have this cute old couple who aren't married. They're dating and they're getting like matchy, not matchy tattoos together. And they've got to be like 65. But it takes some work. You'll hear tattoo artists complain about old skin and blowouts just happen on skin that's that old. And so you got to turn your voltage way down. And that is one of the times that, if I can find a client who's got, more years on their skin who wants to show up on video, I'll definitely go over how much lower my voltage is and how much gentler and slower you have to be with that papery thin skin. It's reality. It is more work. It is a little bit of a pain, but happy clients are totally worth it. That's why we do this. If you're in this field and you're ready to go, you have given up the comfort of a nice, beautiful white sheet of paper for the weird, bizarre, mole and birthmark covered skin of a real human being. I have this one client who's a welder lady who She ruins my tattoos, dudes. Ruins. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not good. She comes in and there's just like slag spots all over my. I'm just like, girl, we're gonna have words. But anyway, back to the tattoo. As you can see, hopefully you've been paying attention to what I'm doing, not what I'm saying. Um, we're just going through, working on getting nice lines. You've seen me kind of double over on lines as well, as I am just testing my depth out. I do end up needing to go a little bit deeper into her skin, like you'll see with this run here. And maybe you can't even notice, but I am starting to test deeper and deeper as I'm going to find that perfect needle depth there. And again, it also has a lot to do with the stretch and how much stretching you can get done on the skin. And so, as you know, stretching is literally probably one of the most important things for making sure you've got clean lines, other than having a good hand position. So what I'm doing here for my stretch is I've got my middle finger, that ring finger, and then I've got my other pinky finger stretching at what we call a 3-point stretch. You can go ahead and Google search it, search it up on YouTube. A 3-point stretch is what you're going to want. And sometimes that's my middle finger and my thumb and my palm. You'll figure out how to get that done. But notice here, I am using my thumb on my left hand, like I've said before, up against my thumb on my right hand in order to stabilize and make sure, right, there it is, just boop. And I use that extra little bit for stabilization there to just aid with everything. You'll notice how I've got, it held kind of like a pen, where my middle finger is up under the machine and tucked right against that little rubber nubbin on the cartridge. And then my pinky finger is what I rest against to make sure that I am at the correct needle depth. And then where my pinky rolls around that ring finger is going to determine how in depth, how deep my needle penetration is. And I'm pretty sure this is right about the point where I start to get comfortable, and you'll start to see me do more of the single line passes. Because as you can see, that's a little bit deeper than I might recommend you going, on other things. Oh, no, I'm making myself a liar. I did a little bit of a double pass there. Yeah, but for the most part, exactly. That's for the most part a single pass. But I am kind of thickening up these lines and making sure they're just nice and crisp. And you can actually see how much crisper that line looks now that I've given it that second pass. So I would absolutely fail that Ink Masters, get these done in single line. Yeah. But I think the most important thing is to, as long as you're not damaging your client, make sure you're getting nice, bold, saturated lines, because they're the things that are really going to last throughout time. And for specific styles, they will absolutely make or break your tattoo, because they're the foundation of your tattoo. They're the housing of your tattoo. In a technical sense, it is actually contrast that makes or breaks your tattoo. But that is a topic to discuss with someone who is a much more accomplished painter than I am. And it's absolutely a thing. Contrast is actually the key, and you can achieve contrast by understanding like your grayscale thumbnailing of your tattoo design. And maybe we should actually go over that a little bit more in depth. I know I touched on it in one video, but perhaps that's something that if you guys want, comment below and we can talk more about this idea of using digital thumbnailing, how that works. And if you're curious, I did talk about it in the design for that snake skull dagger cover up that I did. In that design video, I talk a lot about using 25%, 50%, 100% blacks, right? In order to make sure that specific elements are being brought to the foreground and other elements are being pushed into the background. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and find some music to throw on here, and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy watching this process for the next little while until we run out of line work and go straight to coloring the leaves. I'm not disappointed about that at all. Nope, I'm not. I can do this, guys. Oh, right, and we're going up to 2x speed now. So I'm not actually tattooing this fast. This is twice as fast as I tattoo. That's all. And here is where I switch over to my 3 round liner to get in the whisker details. Cause yeah, there was no way I was gonna do the outline on those whiskers super, as thick as I did with the 7. And so yeah, one of those things to consider is that when you are switching needle sizes, the rule of thumb is that you want to skip one needle grouping size in order to create good differentiation. And so because I'm lining with a 7, I wouldn't then try to just drop down to a 5, right? The next jump down would be a 3, or the next jump up would be skipping the 9 and going to an 11. There are other ways you can choose to do that as well. A lot of people will actually pick the shader, right? The round shader and the round liner. And those also are very good ways. So if you're doing a 7 round liner, then you also have for your thicker lines your 7 round shader. Totally valid. Again, shoot me a comment below if you've got questions about that kind of stuff. But, those are 2 rules of thumb that you can use. Either skip one needle grouping size or pair the liner and the shader, and that'll give you a really nice 2 line weight differentiation in your tattoo designs. Obviously, you can jump way higher. The 1 gap is the bare minimum to create a good differentiation that your client's going to notice. Yeah. So anyway, that's that. Comment below if you have any questions about it. This is me just sinking in them little whiskers. And then I do like the little top whiskers there and the eyebrows for this little girl. But the cat's a girl, by the way. Anyway, and yeah, so that's all. I think that's like literally all I do with the 3 is the whiskers and the eyebrow whiskers. The rest of it's all done with a 7. I'm pretty sure even within the eyes, I probably could have gone with the 3 to like do the little highlight differentiation lines in there. But I'm like 90% certain that like literally the only thing I did with the 3 was the 2 sets of whiskers on this guy. And so yeah, this is this is where we get to the part where yeah, I'm not even sure why. I mean, I guess it had something to do with my thing running out of memory or what, I don't know, but ugh. So this is where we don't worry. That's not my ungloved hand. That's her ungloved hand. I'm the one doing the camera right now with clean hands, no glove. Right. So anyway, that's her thumb, not mine. Yeah, clean sanitation stuff. I don't touch that stuff. Even those little things, just in case, splashy, rub on skinny, not good. So yeah, her finger, not mine. But yeah. So that's what it turned out to be. I wish I could show you guys the techniques I was using and how I, went about and did it, but it was sinking the blacks first, doing a bunch of dirty dipping to get those grays going. I have like 3 gray cups. You can't really see them in the background there. But again, it's kind of one of those things. If you watch the chicken video, you hear me talk a lot about dirty dipping, where I think I had 3 cups of white, and then no, that's not true. 2 cups of white, 1 cup of a light gray, and then the 1 cup of pure black. And then I just dipped my way into those colors. And then eventually I ended up pouring one single little tiny cup of white. You can really kind of barely see over there in the fuzzy background, just to get that little bit of white highlights in the top of the hair or in the top of the head there, and then the eyeballs. Yeah, and that was like literally like 5 drops of white. It was like nothing. Here I am using a 13 curved mag or a 13 round mag, depending on needle brands. They're called curved mags, round mags. I think there's like one other name, and it is that way because the edges, the last two needle sets, or rather it's in a nice convex kind of shape, like a spoon, right? Where it is a nice gentle roll, so that way when you push down on the skin, the edges don't go deeper, and they're pulled back a little bit, and it's just you just get smoother edges to your shading, and you don't get nearly as much skin trauma, I've found, when stretching the skin. And it is just, I prefer curved mags. It's literally the only thing I use. I don't use straight mags at all. But, I know a lot of people who do. So you're going to have to play with this. You're going to have to experiment. You're going to have to do your own thing and figure out how which tools, which paintbrushes, quotes, you like to use, because there is, that they have those for a reason, right? It's not because, Clay says they suck, so they should discontinue them and nobody should ever buy them. They've been around for forever. They're going to be around for forever because they are absolutely a tool people like to use. And it's just not my preferred tool. And so, yeah, there's nothing wrong with them. I just don't like them for specific reasons. Those ones being that the edges can come out a little bit harder, but they are actually really super handy for finding the edge. And if you like to do, you'll see me in the future in this video here in just a little bit, use the edge, right, of my mag to fill in the vines. And some people really like how crisp you can get the edges on a straight mag. Me personally, I find that on a curved mag, you get a more consistent penetration when finding that angle in the corner there. You'll see me do it a little bit here, and we'll talk more about it when we actually get there. But right now, as far as saturation goes, you can see I'm just doing these little tiny circles, right? I do think I'm probably not dropped all the way down to a 6 or 6.5. I think I'm doing this shading at a 7. But I would have to check myself. And again, this is just, I play with it. I'll turn my voltage up and down as the skin allows or requires. It's definitely one of those things you have to be fluid with. Just if you're noticing on the cat, that's right. I did use white in the whiskers, of course. And then I also did end up packing her little bib, whatever you call that cute little white spot she's got. I did end up packing that with white just because it was looking a little bleh without it. And I just really wanted to make that pop in there. And I think it made a huge difference. And so, yeah, that's what I was doing. But again, back to color packing, you can see I'm just doing little kind of squiggle circles, right? Back and forth, twisting my machine around, right, with the wrist to make sure that, I'm getting in those edges and those corners, right? And then, going back over that job and just making sure I'm hitting all the little spots I missed. And, because I went over that so fast, I have the time to come back in there like 1 or 2 more times without overworking the skin. And especially because I'm not going to really have to worry about, blasting over the whole thing. I can just come in and use, like I was saying before, this little edging technique, right? Wait, did he just say edging tech? Don't listen to me or pull audio quotes out of my videos. Apparently I say things that sound really, really bad out of context. Yeah, the edging technique where you use the edge of the needle cartridge. It's quite handy to do. I highly recommend it. It's good Lord, dude, stop talking. But yeah, little tiny circles back and forth, right? Get pretty good saturation, but then, making sure that you're understanding that it's a calligraphy style brush and you got to be moving your wrist around at all different times, making sure that, you're twisting it at the right rotation so that you're not going out over your lines and that kind of thing. Mags can be a little unwieldy if you're not used to like calligraphy pens. They are their own beast, and you do have to get used to them. But they're going to save you a ton of time. They're going to save your clients a ton of pain. Getting through the tattoo quickly like this, right, with that bigger kind of paintbrush is super beneficial. It's gonna help you, make more money or save money, or maybe it actually makes you work faster and you charge by the hour, and you lose money. But it saves your client a ton of pain if you can get through the tattoo quicker. And so, right, like this is kind of one of those things where I'm not actually using the edge, but I am using it, sideways wise. This you do have to be kind of careful with, because as you run it over the skin going in this direction, you're getting, way, way, way more needle hits than if you're going that perpendicular direction, forward instead of sideways. Because, if you think about it, this is a 13 curved mag, which means there is 7 and 6 needles lined up next to each other. And so as I go side to side, I am getting 7 and 8 needles worth of overlaps, penetrations, as opposed to if you're going front to back, you're only getting 2 needle pokes per, right? And so that's something to consider. So this is the technique I'm talking about, the now famous edging technique, where you use the edge of the mag to squeeze into a little tiny area that you should probably be getting like a liner or a round shader for, but you learn to use your tools, and it saves time, and it's a good technique to learn. And if you ever get into like realism, there there's a lot of folks who literally use a 7 curve mag for everything in their realism. You can line with a mag. You don't get the thinnest lines possible, but you can do it. I've seen people do it. It's amazing to watch. But these are techniques to practice, right? And so when I'm doing that kind of like little edging technique, oh, stop saying it, dude. I keep it at that, I don't know if you noticed, but it was at like a major like 45-degree angle. And that's because I don't have those outer needles sticking out all the way to that one line on the mag itself, right? So that I have to tilt it at more of an angle to get those needles to hit at the same time. But because of that, when I'm using that angle, it is actually a more consistent needle hit. That didn't really come out properly. Comment below if that didn't make sense, and I'll like draw a picture of it, so that hopefully it does make sense, because it's really, yeah, I'm having a hard time making the tongue and brain work together to describe that situation properly. But when you use a flat mag at the angle there, those edge outermost needles can really dig in deep. Or the counter side to that is you can really get just one of those little needles in, and you can actually get finer lines to come in for that edge technique. So everything has its drawbacks and its pros and cons list. And so I just like the curve mag. And so when you see me do that, let's just get this little tiny bit in here in the edge, you'll see me tilt it at way more of an angle than you would ever want to do it with a straight mag. And so those are the techniques I'm using. So we're just going to go ahead and fast forward this and just watch me sink in those cute little pinks. Watch me sink in the different tones of green. Again, I'm using that like dirty dipping style stuff to do that. getting in my fun little yellows in the center here to just make it a nice, classic neo-traditional design. Um, yeah, I do actually grab an 11 to finish that pink outline out with. So that is an 11 round liner that I use that for. But comment below if you've got any questions. Sorry I messed up recording the actual core face of the kitty cat, but yeah, thanks for watching, folks. I'll catch you guys in the next video.